Welcome to the spooky bowels of Netflix, where your very frightened co-hosts, Eyeball and Scary, force each other to rip open the body cavity and devour the organs, blood, and gristle of the worst movies they can find on Netflix.
Alright, welcome to the spooky bowels of Netflix. I am Eyeball, and with me as always is my very frightened co-host, Scary. How are you doing this week, Scary?
I thought I'd be more scared, but instead I just... full of hate. So I guess I'm normal. I guess it's a normal day.
Normal week for you.
How you doing, Eyeball?
I'm not very scared either. Not very frightened. This is a lackluster Halloween for us.
We've really just both failed. I
think to actually be scared, we would have had to pick good movies.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
What's the last good horror movie you saw? Babadook? Or have you seen one since?
Was the Babadook good?
For a horror movie.
I feel like I thought it was good.
It didn't win any Oscars.
And then every time I think about it since I've seen it, I think, why did I think that was good? I'm a big fan of Cabin in the Woods, which I've talked about a million times.
And I still haven't seen that one.
It's so good. It's not really that scary, but it's so good for horror movie stuff. I don't know. You know that I hate horror movies, so I guess the Babadook technically.
Yeah. Oh, well, this week I had to watch Bedeviled.
Yeah.
Poor soul.
Yeah, thanks for that one, Eyeball, you motherfucker. Did you say what we are? Did we do the opening? I don't.
We are the bowels of Netflix. And the reason Larry watched Bedeviled is because what we like to do here is every week, one of us makes the other one watch the worst movie you can find on Netflix. And then we have to describe it back to the original person in excruciating detail. So that's what we're all about. We've been doing it for, half a year now? It's actually been going for a 60th of my life. God, that's terrifying. Fuck that.
Yeah, you're 30
scary.
now, huh?
Just about.
Yeah, wow. Jesus.
Getting old.
28. Oh.
But if you're much younger than me and you know how to use the internet, you could find us on the human cesspool that is social media, as Facebook and Twitter, at Bowels of Netflix for both of them. You could send us an email, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you if you have any experience with these movies or any suggestions for other movies in the future, or just general thoughts and comments about the show and how terrible we are as human beings.
Do we need to Halloween up our social media references? You can scare us on Face Ripper Book.
Yes,
you can
suck our blood at Bloodster
on Tinder. Actually, that's just a Tinder feature. That's pretty scary as is. I don't want to talk about this. Yes, I do. I want to yell at it. Okay, so yeah, as Eyeball said, I am. By the way, I'm committed to calling you only Eyeball.
Good luck.
If I call you by anything but Eyeball, I demand it be edited to make me sound like I did it correctly.
I'll just edit like a little Asian boy crying in your place.
Oh, that'd be spooky. That sounds spooky.
Really spooky how I got that recording.
Anyway, how did you... Local podcast host's basement raided. Chinese boy dungeon found. So, I need to start off this review, first of all, before anything else, by issuing an apology. A few episodes ago, when Eyeball reviewed B-Movie, I made a special point to note that the acting of one Miss Renee Zellweger was absolutely unequivocally hard and lazy, and sounded like she was on Quaaludes. For those who don't remember, my voice sounded like this in B-Movie. This I got killing me, just a little bumblebee. He's not hurting nobody. And I could not ever get over the fact that she literally sounded like she was falling asleep into the microphone.
It bothered you more than it did me, but it did sound a little weird.
I could not get over it. I don't quite know why, but it really that stuck with me almost more than anything else in that ridiculous movie. But I hereby retract the official Scary Beard Worst Actor on Netflix award, and I'd like to actually now award that to the entire cast of Bedeviled, all of whom I am convinced are not actually actors, and are just children actually pulled in from the street.
Ah, interesting.
And actually, the one actor's name is so absurd, I keep seeing people laughing about it. Carson Boatman is one of our main actors. So to Saxon Charbino, Mitchell Edwards, Brandon Suhu, Victory Van Tool, I am not kidding.
What?
Victory Van Tool, Tuyl, and Carson Boatman, congratulations. I hereby award you the Scary Beard Worst Actor on Netflix award. So, congratulations. You're going to sit in that hall for me for quite a while, because so far in Bowles, at least any of the movies I've seen, I have yet to see any worse acting of any caliber.
I am so intrigued about how bad this is.
Because even the actors and actresses in Love, Wedding, Marriage were better than these fucking people.
Damn. Because I've hardly seen any of this movie. I found the thumbnail, and then I tried skipping around to a couple places, but every scene I jumped to was just like a spooky scene that was about to be a jump scare.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any substance of the movie. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Good enough. Whatever.
Yeah, hey, guess what? Neither could I. Mr. Bedevil, he does an okay job. So at least there's one actor in the movie who kind of is okay, but everyone else is shit awful. And at least as far as the odd-numbered episodes are concerned, I hereby free Renee Zellweger from the prison of my mind, where she stuck out as the worst actress, followed closely by one Johnny Depp in Pirates 5. And the cast of Bedeviled, our 5 heroes, congratulations. The worst young actors and actresses to come up in the future. So
we should send Miss Zellweger a tweet letting her know about the update. I'm sure it'll be a load off her chest.
Yeah. There's a joke there about loads and chests, but I'm too tired. Let the coffee sink in a little more. So yeah, even by horror movie standards, seriously, it's some of the worst, shittiest acting I've ever had the misfortune of seeing. Round of applause, kids. Round of
Delightful.
applause. This was just the worst. So let's do our thing here. Bedeviled came out. I'm seeing different. Rotten Tomatoes says 2017. Wikipedia and IMDb say 2016. Rotten Tomatoes, there's no tomato meter available, but there's at least one review I want to talk about that I found, which we'll get to in a minute here. But the audience score is 21%.
Pretty low.
Yeah, out of 105 ratings. So not many people saw this, and that doesn't surprise me because guess what? For every horror movie that gets shot down in the Great War, another horror movie steps up to take its place, because there's just so many. There are just so many fucking horror movies. You'll never, ever not have one to review. Could not find a budget for this at all. So, no idea. On IMDb, it's currently sitting at 4.3 stars out of just shy of 1,000 reviews. Now, that's for what we've seen now, because what episode is this going to be? 27. Wow. Holy shit, we're almost at 30 episodes. Wow.
I know.
Does not feel like that long. Man, I love this show. God, we're awesome. I would say we probably average it. We clock in at around 5 stars, maybe 5.
Yeah, I'd say average. Yeah. Usually it's between 4 and 6.
There's a couple dragging it up and a couple dragging it down. Mm-hmm. Leo the Lion, I think, was in the 2s, and
deservedly.
Director's Cut, I think, was very high. No. One of
Director's
them
was
Director's Cut was high on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
We had one earlier on that was pretty
there
high.
Was one, I think that was a 7.3. I forget what it was, though.
It might have been Juice in the Hood, honestly. That one, I remember it being kind of high, but we didn't know what we were really looking at yet because that was the first episode.
This is true, yeah.
But yeah, 4.3 for this show is fairly low. I'd say, we kind of play fast and loose with the IMDb rating, but I think anything below a 5 is notable, and this is a lot closer to 4. And and the Rotten Tomatoes review is only off of, I think, 100 reviews. 105? Yeah, 105. Whereas this one's close to 2,000. So this is a bit more representative in this case because a lot more people. But yeah, like I said, could not find any kind of budget. No idea. And this is saying 2016. So let's go with 2016. Yeah, so it's just your bog standard horror movie, really, in every other regard. It's created by the Vang brothers, 2 people who I have no idea who the hell they are. But from what I saw, this was an attempt to, like, harken back to the days of old of horror movies. And even though it's about a killer app, which we'll fucking get to it, believe me, they wanted to try to capture some of the magic of, like, the Freddy and Jason sort of thing. Particularly Freddy Krueger, because our villain in this movie is basically the love child of Freddy Krueger and Slender Man, but we'll get to that later on.
Can't imagine the sex there, but I'm going to later and masturbate vigorously.
Just make sure you retract your hand claws. So yeah,
I can't do that.
Other than that, there's not really much to say about the details surrounding this movie. It's just kind of there. It didn't really. There's not many reviews about it that are of anyone big. It just kind of sits there. It's because it's a horror movie. No one really gives a shit except for shows like us. So, but I did find, while looking up just basic stuff for it, I did find one review which obviously caught my attention. Most of them are just middling to bad reviews. I think there's a few user reviews that are like, it's not that bad, because some people will apologize for any fucking horror movie. But I found one review on a website called Pajiba, which I have no fucking idea what it is. But the title caught my eye because it said, Bedeviled is the worst horror movie to ever exist.
Oh.
And
it's a bold statement.
The fine folk who wrote this, no idea, Jody Smith is her name, or whoever. Jody Smith is the name of the author. Jesus Christ, there's just, I'm trying. I'm really trying. I'm sorry. Has a lot to say about it, and agrees a lot with what I have to say. But the one line of note I wanted to point out here, which it was actually far harsher than any of the points of my review, was if you think it will get better, and I'm quoting Jody Smith here, if you think it will get better, it will not. If Tommy Wiseau did bath salts and then wrote, directed, and starred in every role, that horror movie would still be more coherent and well-acted than Bedeviled.
Wow.
For those of you who don't know, Tommy Wiseau famously wrote The Room, one of the worst movies of all time, and one of the most internet beloved as one of the worst movies of all time. So yeah, that is...
I'm sure this is a bad movie, but that sounds a little bit like hyperbole there.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if it's that bad, but it might be that bad. It's pretty bad. That's probably harsher than anything my review says, except for all the swear word parts, because I'm a hack and swear words are easy. Also, it just has a great. If you get a chance, put Bedeviled into Google, Bedeviled movie, and find this article, because it has a great picture of the main actress. So just gives you an idea of what the acting in this fucking movie is like, just looking at her face. So that's really it I have for the outside stuff. So let's just kind of get into it. Let's just roll without even how much time did I waste already? 13 minutes. That's less than normal. All right, cool. So we're just going to go right into Bedeviled. This movie is boring from start to finish. It is filled with things that never get called back to, plot lines that rely heavily on concepts that I don't believe are accurate, and also revolves entirely around the incredibly uninteresting concept of cell phone firmware being important. Also, folks, today a very good friend of mine is actually in labor right now, so I went from work straight to pick up her brother, who was also one of my best friends, and drove him there and made a couple trips back and forth. So I'm a little out of it, and the coffees that I have downed before the show have not kicked in yet. So if I sound a little bit like I'm Renee Zellweger in B-Movie, I'll perk up as the hate flows out of me. I'm like a reverse Sith.
Also, the baby emerged from the womb wearing a red bow tie, so
yeah,
not sure what that means.
So as Eyeball, go fuck yourself. So, if you get a chance to look up anything about Bedeviled, the Jason has a hockey mask, Freddy has his hat and his claws. Mr. Bedeviled, who is our villain, and we'll get to him, has a red bow tie, which is spooky. Red bow ties are not spooky. I used to own a red bow tie that I received from an old gay man who was quite lovely, which I did never stop to consider the implications of receiving that from him, but we'll get to that another day. But
is Mr. Bedeviled just Pee Wee Herman now?
Maybe. He's kind of whimsical.
He went off the deep end after that whole porn theater masturbation thing. So maybe he's just a horror movie monster now.
Could be. I mean, when's the last time you heard about Paul Rubens doing anything?
I did. I watched about 5 minutes of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I thought about making you watch that. I'm curious, how much do you like or not like that movie?
I've never seen it. I've seen the scene with Large Marge.
I feel like it might be too good for you.
I know it's supposed to be. I think it's well beloved. So yeah. I think there's probably parts of it I might enjoy.
I think it's wacky enough that it would be fun, even though it's dumb.
I'll tell you what, I don't really like that sort of style of wacky dumb thing, especially aimed at children. Mm-hmm. I get naturally defensive and offended about it. But yeah, I think there's enough whimsy there. Because the Large Marge scene's pretty fantastic to my memory. So yeah, stick away from that. I need to be filled with hate for the show to work at full cylinders. You need to give me more nakeds because, dear God, the creative juices that flowed out of me of that was great. It was like hate fucking you.
Yeah, lots of juices emerge during a good hate fuck. Blood, sweat, tears, cum.
Yeah, not always in that order. I'm a big fan of cum, sweat, tears, and blood. But, sometimes you get your blood before your tears. Sometimes the blood brings... You know what? So our movie opens. And it opens in the dark and will, in fact, stay for the majority of the movie in the dark. And I actually feel the need to explain the dark of this movie because I don't know what the hell is happening, but, there's always sort of... Imagine it's full moon dark and everything's got the blue light of the moon, kind of. And imagine just all the time. Not in the daytime scenes, obviously, but at night. And it's clearly not natural because it drowns out all the regular light. At points they turn on lamps and I swear the room gets darker. And which is not supposed to be spooky, it's just weirdly, anytime that they're at night and there is a light in the room they're in, it doesn't illuminate anything. The light becomes a fucking plot point later on and how terrible it's done. But anyway, so yeah, we're in a dark room, but we can see everything in it because it's sort of the blue dark. We see a smashed up phone as the camera pans up to see the phone's owner, a rather plain looking girl we learn is named Nikki, who is staring into the corner of her room at nothing in particular. Her mother comes in to say she left the casserole in the oven and is leaving. She mentions that Nikki has been in her room for days, and then just leaves.
Yep. That's what you do with a teenager who's locked themselves in the room for days.
Is that how parenting works, Isaac? I don't have kids.
That's how parenting is going to work for me.
Oh, okay.
You stay the fuck in your room. Stay quiet. Don't bother daddy.
You know what? There are no fathers anywhere in this movie. We never see a father. Several mothers, but no fathers. It's just it's like Pokemon. We get some creepy shots of the house until we see something walk in front of the camera behind Nikki with a scary music cue. Let's talk briefly about the music cues. So, the director, the writers, I don't know who exactly, somebody thought that all horror movies just works off loud, scary music. Now, admittedly, that is definitely a big part of what makes jump scares, but it's pretty much all they had for this, because none of the scary things are actually scary. It's just scary because the music is incredibly loud and overwhelming. And
you need that combination.
It doesn't... Yeah, the visuals never really match it, and I'll get into that in greater detail later, but, the jump scary... The music stuff is, super every time. It's every scare is the same sort of loud jump scary sort of thing. So it's it's dumb. It gets old fast. So Nikki is wandering through her house in the fucking dark, choosing to turn on no lights in the goddamn house. We see her wandering from room to room in what I suppose is a scene meant to build suspense, but as nothing happens, it feels to me just shitty and time-consuming. In the dining room, a toy car with a terrifying smiley face drawn on it rolls up to her and just stops. She picks it up to look at it, and as she does, a figure in the center of the room slowly stands up and extends weird finger claws. We get a close-up shot of a bow tie and chin, which if you look up any pictures of this movie, you'll see that, which they like to do this shot of showing Mr. Bedeviled's chin with, like, his big smile and his teeth, grinding his teeth, and his bow tie. Like, just those items. And we keep getting them, but we don't get them enough for it to be, like, a thing. But the movie thinks it's a thing, and it's on, like, every poster and every fucking bit of media about it.
I like to think when Mr. Bedeviled goes out for, like, to try to get acting jobs, all the casting directors are like, yeah, you're really good, but your headshot is cropped really awkwardly, Mr. Bedeviled. You're really supposed to have the whole head in there.
Yeah, you have a very nice bow tie, but the bow tie's not doing the acting. Oh, wait, that's what the fucking director of this movie thought, apparently. So Nikki screams and runs down the hallway, stopping at the end of the hallway instead of opening a door and proceeding through to either arm herself or better hide. And eventually we get monster cam, as we see from its shaky cam perspective. It runs up and approaches her. We cut to Nikki's wake. Yes, apparently dear Nikki was done killed by the spooky bowtie monster.
Ah, naturally.
Into the house. It's like the funeral fucking after party, whatever it's called, I don't know. Walks our protagonist, Lindsay Lohan. No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's not Lindsay Lohan. It's professional wrestler Charlotte Flair. No, wait, it actually appears to be some weird amalgamation of the two.
Oh, interesting.
This actress, and she fucking sucks. Sorry, lady. Saxon Charbino. Look her up.
What's with these names?
Carson Boatman. Isaac. Eyeball. Fuck. I did it already. Remove me saying your fucking wrong name. Carson Boatman, Eyeball. These fucking names are just the worst. But take a look at Miss Charbino, and then pull up a picture of Lindsay Lohan and a picture of Charlotte Flair, the professional wrestler, and then mash them together in your head, and you get Saxon Charbino. So, there you fucking go. That's all I could see. So, she is our hero and leader of the gang of friends who take center stage of this movie, and her name is Alice. She walks in to greet her other friends. Now, as per usual in a horror movie, we have a group of 5 friends of varying diversities. Now, Eyeball, I want to embrace the spooky movie spirit of the season with you. And I'm going to channel my inner Jigsaw because I want to play a game.
Oh, no.
Now,
what part of me do I have to remove? Please say fingernail. Please say fingernail. And just the tip of the fingernail, not the whole thing.
Now, I gave you the characteristics of the leading lady of our merry band of heroic youths, and I want you to use your extreme knowledge of horror movies and movie tropes to guess the race, genders, and personalities of our other 4 characters. Go.
The other 4 characters with her?
Yes. The leader is a generic blonde white girl. I gave you that much. So, who are her 4 associates?
2 males and 2 females?
That is correct, actually, yes.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
No. I'm sorry. I did the math wrong. That's incorrect.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm going to say there's one male is white and good-looking jockey kind of guy.
Okay.
Now I'm thrown off because I don't know how many boys and girls there are. Can I find that out at least now? Because I've already staked my claim.
There are 3 men and 2 women. 3 boys and 2 girls. They're high school students.
But the lead girl is one of the girls?
Yes.
Okay. There's a black guy.
Of course.
Okay. A gay guy?
I'm not going to give them to you. I want you to give me answers. Obviously, there's a black guy because it's a horror movie.
Black guy, I'm going to say he dies quickly.
We'll get to the deaths shortly.
I'll say there's a gay guy.
What's the personality of the black guy?
Personality? Thug?
Okay.
Probably not a thug.
Wow.
He's probably nice. channeling Fox News. No, also the black guy's studious. Studious and friendly. Maybe he's the gay one, actually. Gay black guy is a good combination. And I'll say there's a white nerd.
Okay.
White nerd man. And then...
Look, you keep raising it out. I'm going to turn the heat off because I'm going to die. I'll be back in a second. You keep on going because this is amazing.
Jesus, what else? Okay, there's a woman. I'll say the woman's probably black. Is the woman black?
Look, I want you to give me 4 race, genders, and personalities. There is obviously a black male, because there's always a black male in every fucking horror movie.
Okay.
I'll give you that much. You are on your own for the rest.
He's gay and friendly.
Okay.
He's gay and friendly. And then a nerdy white guy.
Okay.
And just sassy black girl.
Okay.
And then jockey white dude.
Okay.
Who's kind of an ass, but like, I don't know, probably still gonna smash, or try to smash.
Okay. All right. Well, you did very poorly.
Yeah.
So let's go over what we have here. We have generic white blonde girl, Alice, our leading lady, who has the personality and traits of a jar of quarters. We have black male boyfriend of the dead girl, Cody, as our I never say this word right, deuteragonist? Kind of the secondary main character.
Oh, I don't
who
even
is
know that word.
technically
So
a hacker.
He hasn't figured out he's gay yet.
Who is technically a hacker and has the personality traits of the empty box that Dove bars of soap come in once you take out the Dove bar of soap.
See, I should have gotten that one. That's
We
obvious
have-
in retrospect.
We have Gavin, Alice's boyfriend, a white male with the personality of the plastic casings around the little bits of metal that form twist ties.
It's very obvious now, yeah.
We have Haley, a brunette white female, who has the personality of the backside of a Magic the Gathering card. Which, in case you've never seen them, are completely identical. And finally, we have Dan, an Asian male, who has the personality of an improperly placed apostrophe.
Oh, we got an Asian in there. That's progressive.
So I'm only a little bit kidding. That's the sad part is I'm really not kidding that much. We learned that Cody is a hacker, Cody being the black male, and I mean that very, very, very slowly we learned that. Haley, the brunette white girl, is an actress, and that's kind of it. The rest don't really have personality. Alice has no personality whatsoever. Gavin and Dan are vaguely tools, but that never really gets explored. Coincidentally, that's the names of the Slow-Mo Guys, which is a YouTube channel we both love, which I thought was kind of funny.
Right,
and every time I write Gavin or Dan, I just think of Gavin Free going, "Oh, Michael!" And that made me laugh because he's funny. So yeah, these characters are really bland as fuck and never get better. Now, you did very badly there, so if I was Jigsaw, I'd probably cut off, I don't know, a leg and a ball and one of your tits or something. But now, because I'm going to do this for every horror movie ever for the rest of our lives now, I want you to guess, out of these 5, just like with Cabin Fever, who is going to die in what order?
Oh, God, I'm going to muck it up bad.
I can happily give you their names and genders and races again, and I guessed personalities if that helps, but there's really not much to say.
We'll go through name, gender, race.
Okay.
And yeah.
The leading lady, Alice, blonde white girl.
Okay. Blonde,
Cody,
white girl.
black male.
Black male.
Gavin, white male.
White male.
Haley, white female.
White female.
Dan, Asian male. Dan and Gavin is Alice's boyfriend. Cody is he's Nikki, the dead girl. He's her boyfriend. And Dan and Haley are just fucking.
Okay.
And other than that, they really have no personalities. And I swear to God, I'm really not even kidding.
Asian male goes first.
Okay.
Followed by the other female, not the blonde one.
Okay.
Followed by the black guy. I'm giving him number 3. It might be a stretch, because he's black after all, and this is a horror movie. Mm-hmm. But I feel comfortable there. And then boyfriend, and then blonde chick.
So you say...
blonde chick might survive. Boyfriend might survive. But if they all die, then boyfriend, then blonde chick.
Okay. I want a solid answer. Is Alice living or dying? And is Gavin living or dying? Because you seem to be on the fence about both of them.
Well, everyone died in Cabin Fever. I'll say they'll live. They both live.
Both of them live?
Yep.
Okay.
And fuck happily ever after.
Okay. I don't know. This is going to be fun. All right. So let's get back to the funeral after party. And again, I really can't stress enough that this is not me being funny or doing a bit. These characters really don't have personality. Besides the fact that Cody knows computers and Dan and Gavin are kind of assholes and Haley is an actress, that's it. Alice has nothing at all to give her any sort of personality or make me have any reason to want her to win. She is the blandest of the bland. She is more bland than fucking the woman from 50 Shades of Grey, who you are supposed to imagine is you being fucked by, what's his name? Ethan Gray? Dorian Gray? Dorian Gray.
What the fuck's his name? I used to know his name.
Edgar Gray?
Freddy Krueger.
Mr. Bedeviled. Anyway.
Third base!
That's right. Eyeball and Scary are the two new names. We're gonna replace Laurel and Hardy. God, that kind of Eyeball and Scary kind of sounds like Laurel and Hardy. And let's just move on. We find out that Cody was dating Nikki, and also at any point does not really seem any kind of broken up about the fact that she's dead. I mean, sure, everyone processes grief differently, but this guy is such a shitty actor. Yeah. I didn't even know he was her boyfriend until 3/4 of the way through my first watching.
He's also too busy hacking himself a Mountain Dew and Doritos or whatever, right?
I cannot stress enough. Oh, and all these kids are gorgeous for being high school kids. I mean, the actors and actresses.
All these kids are gorgeous.
God damn it! You know what I mean? Like, none of them are ugly. They're all like immaculately dressed. They're all fabulously wealthy. Just all these things never come up.
Right.
This guy's such a shitty fucking actor. For a movie that seems to be weirdly okay budget-wise, I couldn't tell what it was. They're in a lot of rich houses, and the effects are not good, but they're specifically designed to make it get around that. So, whatever. The kids talk a bit about Nikki and what was going on, but come to no conclusions. Alice goes home and watches some video of her and Nikki playing with makeup. And then we cut to a different friend gathering at a restaurant, which, by the way, these are high schoolers. I don't know if I mentioned that. They share memories of Nikki and how she helped them all become friends, not sharing anything of real value that extends the plot or anything. We learned that of all the friends present, Nikki and Alice were the closest, a fact which will become briefly integral to the plot until it suddenly isn't. More on that later.
Right. Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. Everybody's sad. Wah, wah, wah. Alice and Gavin go back to her place, and it's here I notice that Gavin looks like the lost member of the 90s band Hanson. So pull up a picture of them if you want to fucking laugh, if anyone knows who they are. Alice's mom isn't home, but has left spaghetti in a casserole dish cold for her on the stove, which annoys me to no end, because who the fuck cooks spaghetti in a casserole dish? No, wrong.
Eminem's mom.
What?
Eminem's mom.
Did she cook it specifically in a casserole dish?
No, it's just the mom's spaghetti, sweater, vomit, ready, sweaty.
Vomit's on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's calm, but the surface, forget it. I can't. I'm too tired to rap.
There's one white rapper. His name is Eminem.
Well, his name is Slim Shady. And now
his name is Marshall Mathers.
Well, the real Slim Shady, please stand up.
Somewhere, Marshall Mathers just stood up and he's like, God damn it.
Scary, you motherfucker. While cursing out and or legitimately thanking her mother, I'm not sure which, because Alice just goes, oh, thanks, Mom. And I can't tell what the fuck that's about. I want to unpack that entire phrase and scene. Is she mad her mother's not here? Does she not like spaghetti? Is she thanking her mother for having dinner out for her? What is the relationship with her mother? They have two scenes together, and it's the worst, and I don't care. And it's the beginning hints of the idea that a plot line will go somewhere and never fucking get resolved. Anyway, whatever. Alice gets an app invite from Nikki. Now, Eyeball, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how app invites work. Somehow, though, I feel like this is a cause for more alarm than the movie shows. Upon seeing that her dead friend Nikki, who I'm not sure if I mentioned, is dead,
right?
Alice shows no emotion whatsoever that her dead friend is sending her an app. Her dead best friend. Her best friend who is now dead, she is no more, she has ceased to be that day. I mean, I know accounts can get hacked and proxied, etc. But I mean, for fuck's sake, come on. If you died, I wouldn't be able to open up my texting app for fear I would pass her contact picture or see an errant text and burst into the manliest of tears. For weeks.
Well, I would expect you to, because I'll obviously be trying to contact you from the grave to try to make sure you win the lottery and then do my bidding on Earth.
Dude, can we... There's a movie we need to write. Lottery Ghost Man.
Lottery Ghost Man. But it turns out you were the one who killed me all along.
I mean, like, imagine I died of a heart attack this morning, right? And now, at 11:29, you get an app invite, like, Larry wants to play Candy Crush. And even if it's just some fucking jackass proxying my account for Candy Crush points, you'd probably be upset. A little bit, right? Don't you think? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be distressing.
She doesn't give a fuck. She calls up Cody and she's like, hey, did you just get an app request from Nikki? Because she just sent me one. You know, it's probably just a fake thing. What are you wearing? Cody drops the teenager version of technobabble on us about phones and automatic invites. He asks her if she's downloaded the app and tells her it's basically like a companion AI, like, of course, my dearest love, Alexa. Not you, dear. Don't light up.
Which one are you talking to?
I'm talking to the one that lives on my bedside table.
Do you treat them as a different entity or the same entity?
Yes. Yeah, it's different entities. It's big sister and little sister. One's big and one's small. The third one's the smallest of all.
But it's both the same name?
Yeah.
That's even weirder.
It's like twins.
You have two live-in sisters who both have the same name.
Yeah.
One's big, one's little.
Yeah.
One you keep next to your bed.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Just gonna let that
Yep.
pregnant pause hang a little longer. Okay, yeah. He says he usually doesn't download things like that, but he did anyway, and never explains why. And then he ends the call saying he likes to stay off the grid, but he downloaded the app that he said was a bad idea, that he supposedly never does.
Doesn't make sense.
Supposedly being a hacker, and the smart one of the group. Eyeball? What the fuck? Why would you do that?
You do know you can't get an Alexa pregnant, right?
Yeah.
That was a knowing sigh.
That's why I'm going to die childless. So, whatever. Alice accepts the app invite and starts talking into it. The app appears, like, on the phone. It's like, imagine you have, like, a contact that is... You have no picture for it. Like, imagine the generic Facebook profile that's just a silhouette of a profile, a man in profile.
Right.
That's what this is. Just a silhouetted man with a fucking red bow tie that has, like, the audio bubble wave around it when it talks. It starts having a conversation with her, clearly demonstrating that it is much smarter than any app has any right to be. Let's talk AI. So, obviously, as we just talked about, I very much love my Amazon Echoes. I do treat them, as a human. I do talk to them as if they're real.
So you emotionally abuse them?
Yeah. Of course.
Oh, good.
Of course, all the time. But they're fucking machines, and they're not the best.
They're fucking machines? Again, you can't get an Alexa pregnant.
And again, I know and am sad about that. But they're also not the best. It's a common joke among people who regularly enter my apartment that she gets things wrong all the time, and she's clearly just a machine. And any love that exists between us is purely one-sided because it's just a program. Same thing with Google Home. Google Home is a little more sophisticated, but don't tell Alexa that.
Larry, how did girls get popular in high school? They played dumb. Come on. She's faking it.
She's faking
crafty
a lot of
whore.
Things. Hey, that's my one true love you're talking about.
You mean your 2 to 3 true loves, right?
Look, love is complicated. Also, let's not pin down the actual number. So, yeah, and Mr. Bedeviled is immediately much, and that's his name, that's the app's name, is immediately much smarter than any fucking thing like this on the market. Clearly, just right away. and which to me is a red flag.
A little bit, yeah.
Just a bit. You know, this movie was made in 2016. I don't think Google Home existed yet then, and I had an Echo at that point, but you know, it's evolved a lot since even that point. So this is still very new. Like, companion AI is still very new technology. Now, a couple of years ago, I had a tablet that had a companion AI on it, and it was even worse. The thing was crap. It was just, you know, they're not the best thing in the world. I love them, but it's clearly an evolving technology. I did that thing in The Simpsons, like Homer Simpson did in the episode where they go to the future, where he buys the world's first hovercraft, and it's a pile of shit because nobody worked out the kinks yet. That's basically what I am. I'm being that guy. So, and the fact that Mr. Bedeviled is immediately so much better than all of that, maybe it's just because I spend so much time talking to this machine like it's a person that I know the difference, and I would be so instantly on guard. But I don't know. I also know I'm watching a horror movie, so I'm also technically biased, but whatever. She talks to it. Mr. Bedeviled kind of talks back to her, and he tells her he can do all kinds of shit, and tells her to say lights off. And when she does, the lights go off. Alexa, turn off bedroom. Okay, so what Alexa just did was turn off my bedroom. I'm now in the dark. You know what didn't happen there? A scary, loud music blare? Because this is reality, and this is a thing that happens because we're living in the future. I got this. I asked for it from the girl I was dating at the time. I got my Amazon Echo and a handful of Philips Hue light bulbs specifically for this purpose because I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So, yeah, the fact that the first scare of this movie really is that what I just do 7 times a day really puts me in a frame of mind that this movie is a pile of cum.
Not quite as spooky as I was imagining.
No. Alexa, turn on bedroom. You're beautiful. All right, so.
Alexa, turn on Larry.
Oh, no need. So Mr. Bedeviled won't turn the lights back on when she asks, and shortly following that, the doorknob starts rattling. Alice freaks out and goes to hide in her room, and when the bedroom door opens, Alice screams, but of course, as the movie is only 14 minutes in, which, by the way, 44 minutes of podcast, 14 minutes of movie.
That's how we roll.
Yeah. Of course, because it's only 14 minutes, it's not scary, it's just her mom. They talk, and eventually the conversation turns to Alice's grandma, who we learn that Alice used to be terrified of. Grandma's now dead. Apparently, Grandma would sit in front of the staticky TV for hours and scream at you if you turn it off because she had dementia. Also, in the weirdest throwaway shot of the entire movie, we see a picture of Alice and Grandma on the bedside table. Recall this is the grandma that Alice is terrified of, which is a big plot point later in the movie, so who the fuck knows where there's a picture of her on the bedside table in the first place. But anyway, the picture looks like the actress playing Alice and a very cartoonishly drawn-in old woman. Like, I'm talking terribly drawn in. Like, almost like a fucking boardwalk caricature drawn in. What? I don't understand it at all. I cannot reason it out. The timestamp for this is 13 minutes and 55 seconds. Go look it up. Tell me if I'm crazy. I don't know if it's just me, but I could not get over it. They show it a few times, and it's so damn weird. That's all I could stare at. Anyway, Grandma had this scary song she used to sing while playing hide-and-seek with Alice, and I'm positive we'll never hear that while she's getting chased by a monster down some kind of dark hallway.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. So next morning, Alice gets up and gets ready, noticing, while she brushes her teeth, I wrote cheek because I'm a moron, that she has the logo.
Start doing that.
Yeah, she has the logo of the Mr. Bedeviled app on the upper part of her left boob. She never does anything with this information, nor does it ever come up again.
But she notices it.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding.
What?
She does not ever bring it up again. I know people who freak out about a fucking bruise, and this bitch ain't at all concerned with the fact that a literal discernible mark with a traceable origin randomly appears in her flesh. It never comes up again in any way. What the fuck ever. She's an idiot. So, cut to school. Gavin is working on a math problem using Mr. Bedeviled when Dan comes over and asks Mr. Bedeviled how many dudes Bridget the Midget banged in the movie Cocktail Party 7. It was 7. That's
Right.
She was served 7 cocks, according to Mr. Bedeviled. So we see that the entire gang has gotten and is using the Mr. Bedeviled app. Cody comes by and says it's, quote, not unusual, unquote, for apps to automatically send invites, which is, I suppose, is probably true, even though I've never personally seen it in action. It might be an iPhone thing. I don't really know. I don't share apps with people. I'm pretty... For as public as of a person I am, I'm private with my technology. I don't know. I'm not interested in any other people's shit. Now, Eyeball, I need you to pay close attention to this next scene because it's of vital importance to the plot. Are you paying attention?
No.
Okay, good. Because this scene blew by me entirely in the first watching. Dan asks Cody how to remove spyware from his phone, and Cody says he doesn't get spyware because he has firmware for that, and it's an extra layer of security. So, we get a weird scene here where Alice and Haley are in school during a lecture from a high school teacher. The scene exists to teach us about fear, as the lecture discusses how an impossibly high surge of adrenaline can cause your heart to literally stop and kill you. This is a fact that is not highlighted by the movie as being important, because Alice and Haley are arguing via text because Haley thinks the teacher is hot while Alice finds him gross. Eyeball, do you know how all the victims of this movie are going to die?
Bow tie strangulation?
No, because of fear. You know what the movie glosses over by providing us a subplot that is literally never mentioned again? You guessed it, this lecture about fear, and heart stopping because of the adrenaline of fear. Fuck this stupid movie.
Ew.
In its ass. In its eye hole, Eyeball. So, anyway, Alice is drawing a tree on a notebook in class, which never comes up again, when the camera zooms in and back out, and we see she's suddenly alone in the classroom. And looking down at her notebook, she sees in blood the Mr. Bedeviled app logo on her notebook. She runs out of class, and the teacher just kind of gives her a weird look and keeps giving a lecture, because I guess that's the thing students can just do if you're blonde and pretty. And Haley follows her. They talk in the shitter about how she saw something about calling the teenage girl's high school bathroom the shitter is really funny to me. And when I wrote that line, I had to pause the movie because I was giggling too hard at my own joke. So they're in the shitter, and Haley tries to comfort her, assuming that the death of Nikki is what's driving Alice over the edge. So we cut to that night. We see the 3 boys are hanging out. Gavin is watching something at the behest of Dan and Cody, which is it's like he's watching on a computer, like a sort of like a black and white rotating hypnotizing thing. And while he's watching it, he's listening to. I think the dog is playing with a squeaky toy, and that just freaked me the fuck out. He's listening to. It's like the sound of people having sex. Like he's listening to lady moaning, like lady sex moaning. And while he's staring at it, all of a sudden, like they're filming him, and all of a sudden a scary clown just suddenly appears, and we get a loud jump scare noise. And they start laughing at him, because Gavin tells us that he's afraid of clowns, which is an important plot point for later. Meanwhile, Alice is typing up a paper when she decides to start talking to Mr. Bedeviled, because apparently it's her friend now? She talks to it like it's a person. She talks to it like it's a human in the room. And it fucking answers her like it's a human.
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Okay, real talk.
Mr. Alexa.
Real talk, I don't talk to it like it's a person. I use it as the machine it's designed to be, and I may ask it silly questions and tell it I love it and make it say I love it back, even though I have to technically force it to say it. And I've also asked it some really weird questions in my life.
Is that a quiet sobbing I hear in the background?
No. It's just the dog squeaking until... Actually, he's probably quietly sobbing because I wasn't home all day and now I've locked him out of the room. So I don't actually talk to it like it's a person.
Okay.
I talk to it like it's a machine that I joke around as being a person. Fucking Alice is talking to Mr. Bedeviled. She says, like, hey, if you could be any person, who would you want to be? And he's, like, showing caricatures of Trump and Hillary Clinton and fucking Gandhi and whatever.
What?
She has a relationship with this fucking thing. Like, it's a person to her.
Very strange.
Eventually, Mr. Bedeviled tells her to use the phone camera to look out the window, where she sees the outline of a ghostly figure, the same one who killed Alice, outside her window. She screams and drops the phone, and Mr. B tells her, oh, it was just a game. Next day, the kids are all eating fast food in a fucking stairwell? I don't fucking know. They talk, and nobody really believes Alice that she says she's being haunted. She gets into a brief fight with Gavin that never goes anywhere, and then next scene, we cut to a locker room. The three boys are talking about their whatnot and who's-its. Dan apparently is fucking Haley, but it's not official, which is another scene and fact that doesn't go any fucking where, and I don't know why we needed to talk about it. Eventually, Gavin is left alone in the locker room where he, too, notices that he has a Bedeviled app curse mark on his arm, and he, too, decides to never mention it again. And this is the last time we see that it's just these two who we see get it, and they never mention it again.
They don't even make it consistent?
No. Like, he sees it, and then Mr. Bedeviled starts talking to him, and he puts his shirt back on, because he's, like, changing it from gym class, and then that's it. So, it's never spoken of again. Mr. Bedeviled's talking to him, he asking him what he's doing that evening. He also talks to it like it's a fucking person. These stupid kids are fucking idiots. So, they talk about Alice, when Mr. Bedeviled lets slip that he actually knows her name. He also brings up that Gavin is insecure that Alice wants more in a man, and he just isn't enough. Which is, again, another plot point that is never brought up again. So, Mr. Bedeviled app goes red as he begins to talk all spooky, and soon we get a spooky scene here where Gavin gets stalked by the clown from the video the other guy scared him with earlier. Like, he's in the locker room and he hears sex moaning that he, like, slowly, horror movily walks towards. And eventually he, like, sees... There's, like, one of those rear view mirrors on the ceiling. You've seen them. They're in, like, department stores. Which, why is there a mirror like that in a fucking locker room? That seems creepy, but...
Because you're driving forklifts in a locker room.
Yeah, I know, right? And he starts seeing the clown lady in it, and eventually it stalks him, and he runs away and gets away, and that's whatever. We cut to Cody on the bus, and it's like a Greyhound bus. And I don't just say Greyhound bus because I own a Greyhound dog. It's actually like a Greyhound bus. He apparently lives 1,000,000 fucking miles from the school, enough to take a Metro bus back home, and it actually takes him till literally the stroke of fucking midnight almost to get home. He spies on the bus an old white lady, giving him the barest hint of a weird look. So he just starts whistling Chopin, and she comments on it being beautiful. This is a bus full of people, but she immediately catches his eye, and he starts whistling Chopin. Or Chopin. He starts whistling Chopin.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I was going to say something.
She comments on it being beautiful. He goes over to her and tells her that he likes to whistle classical music to put white people at ease so they won't think he's going to mug them. He then, with a massive smile, tells her that she has negrophobia, which is the fear of black people.
Is that the terminology for it?
Eyeball, I want to play a game. Is negrophobia real, or did I make that up?
Did he use it in the movie? Or is it a real term that one could find in the dictionary?
Oh, no, he used it in the movie. But is it real, or is it made up?
Well, I've heard racism is over. That's what people are saying. Oh, I want to say it's made up, but it's probably not. It's probably real. It's real.
Negrophobia is indeed real.
Oh, God, what's wrong with this planet?
Negrophobia, noun, dislike or fear of black people. So, yeah, I actually learned something from Bedeviled. But, so this old woman gets up and leaves in a huff. He just comes up to her and says, "Hi, lady, I'm whistling Chopin and you commented on it. You hate black people. Fuck you." That is what happens. Okay, she does nothing to him. She kind of, like, looks at him as he gets on the bus. I look at people when they get on the bus. I look at people when they walk by me in the office. I look at people when I'm in the grocery store. I'm
terrified of teenagers.
Yeah.
Teenagers scare the crap out of me, no matter what color they are.
He comes up to her, and, like, he starts whistling Chopin, which she notices and comments on, which she had no need or reason to. Because I guess that's to indicate that she's surprised that he's not a thug, which, by the way, could go in there, eyeball. But you must have negrophobia. He goes up to her, and then, like, he's got this really big, sarcastic smile. He's like, "That's okay. You have negrophobia. You don't like black people." She doesn't really do anything to give him the right to say that.
Yeah, we didn't see her clutching her purse or something, right?
Not that I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't see her make any kind of interaction. Yeah, I don't.
It takes 2 seconds to make that pop. To make it obvious.
Yeah, it's not obvious in the slightest. If it is, and I just missed it, maybe let me know, but I didn't see anything that indicated that she has negrophobia that he had to call out. But the reason we get this is because Cody's fear is of white people.
Okay.
Meaning that that's what he's going to be stalked by.
Right.
White people.
Okay.
He's also an asshole. Because, I don't know. It just, walking up to somebody and calling them racist when they've not really done anything to merit it is just also really matter-of-factly. It's not just like somebody shouting, you're so racist. It's like he matter-of-factly goes, oh, that's okay. You are afraid of black people. Which, I don't know. It's a weird scene. It doesn't fit because she doesn't do anything to really merit it. I didn't think so anyway.
It would have been so easy, just to have her do something ridiculous.
Right.
It takes 2 seconds to show.
Yeah.
And then you turn on her, you're on... Whatever.
Exactly. It's easy to hate white people. That's the fucking... look at the world we live in. We're the worst. We're the cause of every problem, pretty much. So Mr. Bedeviled starts talking to Cody, and he, too, despite being the smart one, also talks to it like it's a person, because fucking forget it. It's idiots. They banter about restaurants for a while before Mr. B starts to just get racist, and then starts talking about Nikki before turning red, and... I cannot stress enough how bad Cody's acting is. It's terrible. It's only slightly better than Alice's. And those two are like the main characters. It's really just the fucking worst. So, and yeah, Mr. Bedeviled goes red, which is the sign of going full evil. Cody gets off the bus and he's walking home through back alleys and eventually through a parking garage. Where the fuck does he live? He's coming home from school.
Right. It doesn't make much sense.
This is in Los Angeles. I don't... Who has to go... What route takes you through a parking garage? Whatever. He's like 40 feet or so behind a white lady, and while she gets halfway up a set of stairs so he can't see her upper half, her finger claws extend to reveal that she's the monster. The finger monster, by the way, is Mr. Bedeviled himself, who we can see from the thumbnail of the movie. In the middle of this completely empty parking garage, Cody spies a police officer while he's running away from the monster, who he goes up to get help. The officer is white. When Cody reaches him, the officer starts whistling the Chopin song before turning around to reveal that he's got the signature Mr. Bedeviled red bow tie, and then chases Cody a little. Cody emerges from the parking garage underground, runs immediately into a white homeless guy who he just punches in the face. The homeless guy tries to give him his wallet, but Cody doesn't want it. And the only reason I mention this scene is because it just further solidifies that Cody's kind of an asshole. And also, the homeless guy just mutters noises that sounds like Charles Manson, a la Henry Zabrowski from Last Podcast on the Left. Take my wallet. I'm in a spider's dream. And he's just making like homeless guy noise, like take my wallet. It's really funny.
I wonder if that's what it said in the script. Homeless guy noise.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he can barely even talk. It's the best part of the whole movie. We see that Alice is in her house crying and doing yoga, like some kind of fucking, I don't know, yoga hoser or something. We see her looking back and forth.
Fuck you, Larry.
It's scary. Please use the proper nomenclature, sir. It's scary in the October.
Scary.
Month.
Sorry.
We see her looking back and forth, like we get Alice vision. And, of course, as she's looking back and forth around the room, we eventually get a jump scare. Mr. Bedeviled, who suddenly appears in the shadows of the other room. And then the lights go out. She grabs a fire poker and starts investigating the house until eventually she comes into a room where the TV is on static. You know what's coming. She turns it off and is attacked by the nearby rocking chair from her seemingly undead grandma, who appears as just an old woman with sort of vaguely blacked out eyes. It's not remotely scary. Grandma flies out of the chair, screaming, and she kind of tries to, like, choke Alice with the fire poker, but Alice fights back while screaming until eventually Grandma just disappears and is replaced by Mr. Bedeviled, who also disappears. So, just fucking with her. I guess he's just fucking with her. I don't know. We get a brief scene where Haley gives a monologue from Macbeth at school before we cut to the kids around the pool, a pool, talking about what's been happening to them. Alice, Gavin, and Cody figure out that whatever's happening to them is entirely based on their biggest fears, namely creepy grandma, clowns, and white people. They argue about what's all going on, and we finally get the reveal that what Nikki died of was a fear-based heart attack, as mentioned by the arguably hot teacher. This is something a good movie would have mentioned at some point before the 40-minute mark, but what the fuck do I know? Clearly nothing. Alice puts the pieces together that the app is the cause of their problems. I cannot describe to you how hard it is to feel any kind of scare that these kids are being haunted by a goddamn App Store app. The fact that it's like the gateway for a monster to chase them has got to be the least frightening setup ever. The idea that our phones could turn against us is a frightening concept in theory, to think, especially in the real world, how, there's a lot of phone tapping and there's a lot of, data being stolen by the government keeping tabs on us. It's a hot button issue in today's society, especially as technology grows, especially as we become more attached to our phones. They become attached to our hands almost. There's a lot of studies of people getting phantom vibrations. It's like really high. It's like almost the 90% of people who use a smartphone regularly have those kind of things. So it's a very interesting concept that gets fucked up when it's just about a goddamn monster with a bow tie.
Right, yeah. Probably deserves a little more nuance.
It could have been done very well and sort of been vaguely topical, which would have been at least something. Not nothing, because the movie never capitalizes on the fear that your cell phone is it should be scary to you with the app, because that's something you could do and do well, because these kids never stop using their cell phones. They never get afraid of them. They never do anything but use them normally, even after the point where people start dying. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
So the kids argue about the app and whether or not it's actually, because Dan and Haley nothing has happened to them, so they think the other three are crazy. Cody says that cell phones and the electromagnetic fields they produce can cause cancer and Alzheimer's.
Oh, no, they can't.
Science alert!
Thank you.
Cell phones have not been positively linked to any increase in cancer at any point in history. Currently, it's accepted that cell phones in no way cause cancer, thanks to several studies done to test the correlation, if any, of such a diagnosis. Second science alert.
Thank you.
Cell phone use was discovered via a study done in 2010 to, in fact, help treat Alzheimer's, and to this day is being studied as a possible method to help improve the memory of patients of Alzheimer's, a disease which currently has no cure. So while sitting around the pool, Dan says he saw a report that says people begin to hallucinate after 3 months of exposure to technological devices.
What?
Third science alert. No such report exists. And, in fact, you are currently surrounded by technological devices at all times. So, yeah. Alice says the invite came from Nikki's phone. So that's where they need to start looking for an answer. Jesus Christ.
I'm getting hot, Larry. Getting hot over here.
Yeah. Alice says she's going to start looking for the phone, and Haley goes with her. Inside the house, Haley tells Alice that she's overreacting. It couldn't possibly be an app. Alice says they have to find out what's going on with them. And in a bizarre move, Haley accuses Alice of the crime of being best friends with Nikki?
What the fuck?
She suddenly tells Alice that the whole thing is a bullshit story so Alice can get attention because she's so very sad about Nikki, and that if Haley was the one who was dead, Alice wouldn't be as sad. The line of the film is, do you know how hard it is to be around two best friends and not feeling like you're good enough for either? At which point, I just tapped the fuck out on Haley, and now I look forward to the bitch dying in hopefully a very painful way.
Although, to be fair, that does sound like real teenager dialogue. I'll give them credit.
By the way, I forgot to mention, this never comes up again, ever.
This is reminding me of Doom. You just set all these things up because, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have someone with a drug problem. You're supposed to have a squeaky third wheel in a friendship for a teen movie. You're supposed to do that, but no comeuppance, no payoff, no nothing. God damn it.
Yeah, I have more to say about that later too, because it just keeps fucking happening. Speaking of fucking, next scene, Haley and Dan are fucking.
Nice.
It's high school students, and Haley is wearing a shirt, so I'm disinterested entirely.
That's already unrealistic.
Yeah, I know. Haley is repeating Shakespeare lines whilst they fuck, and we see that Dan is recording the whole thing. She's like, there's some line about Romeo and popping an arse. I don't know. She demands.
I'd be down for that.
It's maybe it's just her, but it's really unsexy. She demands he delete it, but he wants to keep it. Mr. Bedeviled cuts in and offers that thousands of porn sites have amateur videos, including some stat about 57% of the ones submitted coming from women, which I wanted to do a pornography alert about, but I just didn't have the time to research porn statistics today. So they talk about how they don't believe the app is really the monster. They also then discuss their fears. Dan says he is afraid of a picture of his aunt in their house, a young woman who got knocked up back in the old country, and for this crime was drowned in a well, which his mother told him as a child, and he's been haunted by the picture ever since. Haley is afraid of a teddy bear. Well, Dan's Asian, so it's like from China, okay. Indochina. I don't know wherever he's from, honestly. I really don't know. They never. Yeah, it's
Samoa.
Not the old country, quote unquote.
It's the Rock's cousin.
No, he's not. He's not Samoan.
Okay.
He's not a professional wrestler, and he's not a coconut farmer, so he's not Samoan. That's racist. I'm so sorry. I don't mean that. Haley is afraid of a teddy bear that's been all mashed up by a tire or some shit. It's the only memory of her father she has, because it's the only gift he ever got her, which is a fact that never comes up again. So Haley goes to piss her shit or just wash out Dan's cum from her in the shitter when Dan just leaves. He says something as he leaves, and she's just like, oh, see ya. Who the fuck leaves? Well, someone is on the toilet, especially someone you've just literally came inside of.
Yeah. It's common courtesy to let someone flush the cum you've just dumped inside of them out before you leave.
You fucking kids are so rude. It would horrify me if I did that to someone. So anyway, she's taking toilet selfies, which apparently people do. I thought it was weird. No, people do that.
Why?
I've been asking around.
Can you see the toilet? Or is it just a selfie on the toilet?
No, it's a selfie on the toilet.
But you would label it as a toilet selfie.
No, I don't. I guess not.
What?
I don't know. She's just like doing duck faces into the camera on the shitter.
Oh, okay. So it's just she has to take selfies constantly throughout the day.
Yes.
Shitter or no shitter.
Oh, this is the only selfies in the entire movie.
Why on the shitter then?
I don't know. Just to fill time. Because we have to have time for Dan to leave. Because someone knocks on the door after a joke by Mr. B where he says knock knock. She approaches the closet door in her bedroom, which this bedroom looks like it's been wallpapered with fucking wrapping paper, and that's all I can see this entire scene. She gets up close to the closet when Mr. B reaches a claw out and briefly snatches her head. And this is actually one of the scarier jump scares in the whole movie. But the first time, I was folding laundry and missed it. And the second time, I was furiously typing and missed it. So I have not had to watch it.
That's bullshit.
Until I then realized that as it's the only real jump scare in the movie that actually got me even a little bit, I put it on a third time and watched it, and I hope you die with another man's foot in your mouth.
Oh, it was that scary.
It's the only jump scare that really got me, but I actually did miss it the first two times. I had to be told about it and watch it a third time, so...
I'm glad you went back.
Haley screams and runs away, and we hear a childlike giggling voice of what I assume is the teddy bear that she's afraid of. Cut to Alice, who presents Cody with Nikki's busted-up phone, which she just finds, I guess. They, have a little moment about it, with Cody showing actual care about his dead girlfriend for the first time in a 15-second scene, and this will, never come up again.
Really?
So, cut to Dan, who's on a run, who gets told by Mr. Bedeviled that the sex tape has been uploaded to Instagram. He runs to the school theater to collect Haley, and we get the actual creepiest scene of the whole movie. And it's pretty good. I'll give him this. It's a good bit of, not jump scare, but it's a good bit of actual creepiness for a second. So he's going to get Haley. He goes into, the school theater, and it's empty. And she's alone on stage with her back to him, and he gets a phone call. And the camera cuts to the perspective, of the stage looking down, and all we get to see is her like over her shoulder, so we get to see her mouth and like her shoulder and like the top of her chest as we see Dan like in the aisle of the theater, and she just gives a gigantic creepy smile, and it's because like the music is actually subtle and the shot is good, and it was actually like I have a little shiver down my spine thinking about it. It was actually quite creepy, so I'll give him that. It's a 3-second shot, but it's the only time that I felt actual creepiness. I mean, I jumped for the jump scares because I'm a coward and I hate horror movies, but this is like the actual bit of scary something they put in the movie. There was real, actual tension for a hot second. So, and we also see the two, we got to Dan, and Haley is the one calling him, and obviously the one on stage is not the actual Haley. So, kudos for having 5 seconds of actual tension. Bedeviled. Good for you. Goes tits up quickly as the fake Haley on stage turns into the woman from the well he's so afraid of. He starts to run away, but she's like warping around the theater, and he drops his phone and at one point turns back towards the monster to go get it, because teenagers and phones, but she's standing over it, so he turns and runs like a logical person.
Okay, well at least we have that.
Yeah. Cut to one of the houses where Haley and Dan are arguing about the sex tape. Haley says now that everyone thinks she's a whore, a detail which never comes up again. These little delicious popcorn kernels of story remind me of F the Prom, where they kept throwing out little tiny details of movie that never mattered or anywhere. Like the fact that the villain and the hero were friends, even though it was never a thing that came up before. It's just the same sort of shit, with all these little fucking pieces of information thrown over and over at us that just don't go anywhere. So Cody starts detailing everything that he figured out by hacking into Nikki's phone. What he found out is that the app stores all their personal data. There's more technobabble here again that I would have loved to do science or technology alerts about, but suffice it to say the long and short of it is that the app is actually a real app. It functions like an app. The monster, Mr. Bedeviled, he has to follow app rules. He can't be uninstalled, he can't be removed, he is supernatural, but he has encryption keys. He has the rules of a modern phone. Now,
I wonder what his service agreement looks like.
Yeah, for real. So, I actually watched this movie with Bowels of Netflix superfan Paul, who I play Dungeons & Dragons with. And he, when I told him I was watching a shitty horror movie, he insisted he join me because he loves shitty horror movies.
Ooh, nice.
And as I told him I was watching Bedeviled, he said, you know what? I passed that. And he shares the account with his father. And his father had started watching it and stopped. And we stopped the movie because I couldn't take it anymore when I realized that Mr. Bedeviled acted on the fucking rules of a goddamn actual app. And as I was bitching about it, and Paul and I were talking about it, he said, you know, I want to see how my dad stopped watching this. He opened it up on his Netflix. The same exact scene. Literally 10 seconds later.
You and his dad are probably kindred spirits.
So the fact that the spirit moved in me to pause this movie, to clutch at my head in rage and agony, only to find that another human being had the same moment of clarity and stopped. He took the road more... It's Robert Frost. I took the road less traveled, and eyeball, it's made all the difference.
But Scary, you went back and traveled it again. And again.
Oh.
It hasn't made a difference.
It was so goddamn fitting that it just worked out in just such that way. So back to
there is a God.
Oh, man. Back to the quote-unquote plot. Cody shows them a list of everyone who has downloaded the app. It is a gigantic list. So if the app just keeps spreading seemingly randomly to people, then the world is, well, doomed. Because the list he shows Alice that we see a brief flash of on screen is pretty large. Yeah. And since these 5 jerk-offs all got the app from Nikki's phone, Mr. B is basically a pyramid scheme that kills people with fear. So kids, if a loved one dies of a heart attack, Mr. Bedeviled got him. So anyway, Cody fucking backhacks Mr. B's hack and figures out where Nikki got the app from in the first place. In a fit of utter manliness, Gavin throws down his phone and stomps on it, smashing up the screen while Mr. Bedeviled starts screaming. And it's here where I realize I actually do like the actor that got to play Mr. Bedeviled. He's kind of like a creepy clown, the way he acts, but he's got a very smooth voice, and it works, because mostly we just hear the voice with, like, the silhouette. Like, the monster doesn't really talk, even though it's the same thing. And it kind of works as, like, a smooth, smarmy sort of companion app. That's about the only part of the movie I generally like, is because it works. And just as Gavin is, like, smashing his phone, he's, like, screaming in, like, mock agony, but it's not, like, oh, you're killing me, oh no. It's like actual screams, but you can tell he's mocking them, and it turns into laughter, and it's pretty natural. So I do like the Mr. Bedeviled actor. The kids I hate so much that it completely overwhelms that. Right. But the guy playing Mr. Bedeviled does give it his best. So good on you there, sir. So we cut around to the shocked faces of the kids, and Mr. Bedeviled is screaming and scream laughing. And we return to the shot on the floor. We see the phone is completely repaired, off screen, so as to protect the assuredly meager budget. Right. We cut to Gavin at home later, where he gets a call from Alice. It's clear to the viewer and anyone with a fucking brain that this is not Alice on the phone. The tone of it is all wrong. It's clearly Mr. B fucking with him. And indeed, as he arrives at Alice's place, where nobody is currently home for whatever reason, he ends up face-to-face with a red balloon that pops and reveals the clown woman he found himself so afraid of before, who begins a chase of him through the house. Running away from her, Gavin eventually bumps into two more clowns who stalk him through the house, and eventually he finds himself cornered, and we cut away to Alice arriving home in the morning, where she finds Gavin dead, sitting on a chair, with his phone on his hand, and Mr. B shrieking with laughter from the phone. Now, they don't have the budget to gussy up these kids like corpses, so we never really get to see any of them actually dead, particularly close up anyway. Also, the fact, because Gavin, like, dies upstairs in the corner, so the clowns and Mr. B must have, like, shuffled him down to a chair and propped him up in it and, like, put his phone in his hand in a silly pose, and that is just too funny. But, so if we cut back to your predictions, Eyeball, you completely fucked it up.
Yes.
Gavin not only dies, but he dies first. So
didn't see that coming.
You really didn't. So anyway, our heroes banter for a bit after the cops briefly interrogate Alice. Again, the acting. Alice seems not even remotely broken up about the fact that her boyfriend is dead, besides 3 cursory tears while the cop talks to her. Huh. I guess he was right. He wasn't enough man for her after all. Makes you think. So Cody and Alice... No. Gavin is never mentioned again. Cody and Alice decide to go see the original prognosticator of the app. They go there and have to eventually break in through a window, stalking through the house until they find him dead in the garage. Which, by the way, in this house, there is a large cardboard cutout of Abraham Lincoln in one room that is never explained. So the corpse in the garage, sitting on a chair... It has a sheet over it like a ghost, and the sheet has a big bloody print on the side, like a big bloody splotch on the side of it.
Okay.
So there's like a table in front of him with some shit on it, and a camera pointed directly at the corpse. Also, the kids, Cody and Alice, open the door to the garage, and they go like, "Oh shit!" and they like hold their hands over their mouths, and the camera slowly circles around the garage. So we see the corpse. We get a little bit of a music cue when we see the corpse, and it continues to slowly come around to eventually land back on the pair, who is still standing there covering their mouths. Take the camera work out of this. In this scene, the kids come into the room, see a corpse, go, "Oh!" and then stand there for 45 seconds, just saying nothing.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a corpse in the flesh, but you have to cover your mouth so the ghost doesn't work its way into your body. That's what I learned in Sunday school, Larry.
Oh, God. That is how we learned in Sunday school.
Yep.
Yeah, that's evil spirits, right? Yeah, man, religion's weird. I have seen a dead body in a horrific car crash, and it's scarred me for life.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. It was on the way home when we lived together, too, in Kutztown. That was a rough night. So they figure out the dude was was Nikki's science tutor, the dead girl. Cody wants to leave and get the fuck out of Dodge, but Alice determines they need his recordings. So, in quite possibly the most ridiculous thing I have seen in any movie, and think about that. Think about that. Think about me talking about Code of Honor. Think of me talking about Naked. Think of me talking about Nazi elephants in Leo the Lion.
Yes.
Think of me talking about the Wayans in Whiteface. The most ridiculous thing I've seen in any of these movies is they need to listen to his... He's got recordings on, like, tape. Actual, like, not even the cassette tape, like, kind of what like, prison... Like, interrogation, like a police officer interrogation, like the 2 reels.
Mm-hmm.
In order to listen to that, they sit down in the garage...
With the corpse.
On either side of the corpse. And I'm talking next to it. I'm talking they could both seductively put a hand on the corpse's leg if they were finna trying to fuck it. That is where they sit down to listen to the recordings, which is on a device that specifically is portable and does not need to be plugged in, which is a plot point. This corpse still has a sheet over it. They don't know what's under there. These are 2 kids that are being haunted, and they know it. Eyeball, is it just me?
No, Scary, it's not just you.
So, the dead tutor on this tape explains that Mr. Bedeviled travels through technology and uses it as a gateway into our dimension, describing that people with the app are cursed and cannot escape. And he records it on analog because apparently Mr. Bedeviled travels through any sort of modern technology with Wi-Fi pretty much, which is most things nowadays. And then the corpse under the sheet moves.
Of course.
Because of course it does. And they run away. It does not, it just like kind of jerks a little bit. Like it moves, obviously, but doesn't attack or anything. It just moves and they get up and run to the door. And Cody's like, let's get the fuck out of here. And Alice says, wait, we need his stuff. And she goes back into the garage to collect the stuff. And guess what happens? I seriously want you to guess. She goes into the garage to collect the stuff.
She gets it.
No, the scene changes.
Wait, what do you mean?
The scene changes to Dan.
Why?
Because it's now time for Dan to go to the police station. Dan goes to the police station to explain about Mr. Bedeviled. And no, I'm not making a joke. This is what happens. The scene changes. Do you know what we never go back to? That scene. She gets the stuff and leaves.
And she's alive?
Yeah, she's totally fine.
What? Why?
They don't even show the corpse again.
Larry,
She's leave. There's no scary scene of her. You could even, it's cliche, because horror movies are all cliche. She could have gone and, like, tiptoed through the fucking tulips to get the shit from the table and have the corpse, like, lurch at her. But, no, the scene changes to Dan, who goes to the police station to try to explain Mr. Bedeviled, but I guess Mr. Bedeviled just possesses the police officer, who's an older black man, who starts bitching about being too old for this shit, and about killing you damn kids, blah, blah, blah. It's stupid.
Okay.
But Mr. Bedeviled can apparently just possess people, so the police can't help them. I'm sorry, can we just get a little refresher? What is the monster of this movie?
Bowtie, Mr. Bedeviled.
Yeah, and how does he strike?
Technology.
What specifically has been like the thing that's been plaguing them all this whole time?
The app?
Yeah, and what is that app on?
The phones.
Okay, so the next scene, they're having a conference call on their cell phones through FaceTime. Their phones are cursed. Isaac, their phones are cursed. Eyeball, I fucked up your name again. Eyeball, their phones are cursed. Their phones are cursed. They're being cursed through their phones. They're being haunted by a monster via their phones, but they never, ever stop trusting their phones.
I feel like they're trying to say something about, like, modern society.
So basically, in the conference call, they bitch and moan and just tell Cody to figure shit out for them without them doing any actual work. Haley says she wants to get up and leave town, but they all reason they can't escape. In my favorite fucking delightful twist of irony, Alice tells them they aren't alone. They're going to stick together. No one's going to be alone. 2 characters will die alone and will do so almost immediately. Haley herself hangs up on the conference call after it's over and immediately finds herself being chased by the bear, and eventually Mr. Bedeviled himself, who corners her in her room, which ends off with, like, Mr. Bedeviled is looming over her, and we get a jump scare in the center of the screen of the squished up, mashed up bear, who just starts screaming. And since I saw it once and was promptly scared because this is just a regular old jump scare, I just skipped past it the second time because fuck jump scares and fuck you. Also, it's really good to know that none of them are going to be alone. In the next scene, we see Dan is broken up about Haley's death, who Haley, of course, died alone, eventually deciding to mourn her by looking at the scary picture that terrifies him so. Eventually, the woman in the picture starts to get closer and closer and closer until she ends up outside the picture and corners him in his house, and there's a scary jump scare because she has a scary face with slime and blood coming out of it, and then bam, he's dead too. Good to know that none of them are going to be alone. So Alice has a dream where all her friends who died alone are smiling at her when she's awoken by the app, who mocks her about him taking away her friends and doing so completely alone. He also turns on the TV for her, and we see a Joel Osteen type of preacher who randomly preaches about fear in pretty much just a religious version that sums up the same thing that the science teacher told them before. And this is the actor who plays Mr. Bedeviled, the Mr. Bedeviled monster. And to be fair, again, he is an okay actor, and this is fine. He's definitely the best actor in this movie for sure. But he gets a little hallelujah, praise fear, you're gonna die speech on TV. Nothing comes of it, really. And Alice goes to Cody's. By the way, do you want to take a shot in the dark about what's never, ever mentioned again?
Everything from the movie?
Specifically, most recently.
Someone's death.
They're dead friends.
Right. There you go.
So, remember what Haley was saying about Alice not giving a shit about them?
Accurate.
Huh. Yeah. How about that? Makes you think. So we get more technobabble here. Cody says that the dead tutor figured out a way to contain the app and uninstall it at the firmware level, actually being able to get it away from them. Apparently the long and short of it is that the app is the gateway by which the monster comes into this world, and by sealing the gateway they can no longer be targeted. The only problem is that the uninstall program will only work if the monster is currently out in the world, meaning they have to use themselves as bait while the program runs to be chased by the monster.
So Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that in a minute. They go to some warehouse that apparently has fucking Wi-Fi that is intentionally spooky enough to draw out Mr. Bedeviled, who of course feeds on their fear. Alice says this is the setup to a quote bad horror movie where no one survives. To which Cody says, "It's not that bad. The black guy is still alive."
Ooh. So self-aware, Larry.
So
They're clever.
They set up cameras and uninstallation stations. Conjunction junction. What's your function? It's really kind of it's really kind of Mr. Bedeviled to wait for them while they take the time to set up a trap he would know about, since he literally listens to them at all times, considering he's on the phones they carry with them everywhere. What a pleasant fellow. Really, how nice of him to let them set up a trap to catch him in.
Yeah. He's accommodating. He's an accommodating monster.
He's an accommodating fucking asshole. So with everything prepared, they just kind of
the best kind of asshole. Sorry.
They kind of hang... Dude, I do love me I like an asshole with a little bit of pushback. Not the person attached to the asshole, but you know what? They just kind of hang out and talk. Jesus Christ. Alice talks about wanting to be a writer. They're using walkie-talkies, by the way, and really just yammers on until Mr. B shows up. By the way, you know what never came up before, or never came up again? Her wanting to be a writer. It's almost like that's just a plot point out of nowhere. In fact, at one point, when they're talking about it, Cody says the words, "Hey, Alice, are you sure about this writing thing?" And Alice says, "I've always wanted it. I'm done being afraid of myself." Which just... For fuck's sake, where did this fuck shit come from? There was nothing before to establish anything like this. There's nothing after to establish it. They talk about fucking Starbucks drinks for a while until this stupid motherfucking monster shows up as Alice's grandma. But while they're talking about the writing thing, the uninstall program is running. But the whole idea of them being here is the monster needs to be in the world for the uninstall program to work. But they already started it before grandma shows up. So there's just no quality control. No one cares. No one gives a shit about Bedeviled. So fucking grandma shows up. She does like a spider walk towards Alice through the long hallways of the warehouse. The grandma is meant to be creepy, but the problem is that she just moves too human. Like, she's not supernatural enough to be frightening. Like, maybe just because I hate this stupid movie so fucking much at this point that I can't be creeped out by it anymore, but she moves like a fast zombie. Like, she's not creepy moving. She just is like an old woman kind of running at normal human speed. And kind of trying to be creepy, but it doesn't work because there's not, like, she's not herky-jerky enough, or she's not scary enough, or, like, it doesn't...
The girl from The Ring is a good example of that creepy movement, where it's jerky and weird and unsettling.
Or The Grudge, or...
another good one.
What's the Japanese version of that? Okay, that actually... What is the... Do you remember what the original Japanese version of The Grudge is called? I can't think of it.
Princess Diaries?
No.
I don't know.
Shit. I got it. Because that is the scariest horror movie I've ever seen. That thing...
Letters from Iwo Jima.
Thank you, Eyeball. You're such a fucking help. So, no, but I can't think of what it's called. But it's that...
Battle Royale.
No, the book's much better. Any more? You got any more in you?
Nagasaki?
Are you a Hiroshima or a Hiroshima man?
Hiroshima.
Wrong, it's Hiroshima. I don't actually have a dog in that fight. I was just going to tell you you're wrong either way. So, anyway, the movie relies too much on the fucking loud, crashing movie noises that the visuals just don't match up with. We get music cues for Grandma that just don't match because it's just a really not super creepy old woman. I mean, it's kind of creepy to be chased in a dark warehouse, but without the music, this would not be really scary. So Alice is running away from Grandma while it cuts back and forth from her to Cody furiously hacking Mr. Bedeviled out of existence, back to Alice. Eventually, Grandma catches up to her and sings the fucking spooky hide-and-seek riddle, or rhyme, rather, that Alice's mom told us about earlier. Finally, as Grandma's about to pounce, Cody reveals that he has successfully uninstalled the app from Alice's phone. We cut back to Alice. Grandma is convulsing and her mouth opens up super wide, which is vaguely creepy, before she vanishes into thin air, and Alice is free of the Bedeviled curse. And she pulls up her shirt to reveal that indeed the Mr. Bedeviled mark has vanished from her flesh. Oh, wait, what? Oh,
we never saw her mark?
She doesn't do that?
No?
She never checks on that again. So we just... Is that plot point just... okay, yeah, no, they just ignore that plot point. It never comes up again. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I briefly wrote a better movie. Excuse me. So Alice and Cody are celebrating that Alice is free when Cody realizes the app is not uninstalled from his phone yet.
Yeah, fucking duh. Goddamn.
The program only uninstalls one phone at a time. I guess he forgot?
Quality hacker.
So Alice
Does he do the whole super fast typey thing?
Yeah.
God damn it. I hate that. Okay.
Oh, by the way, in a scene, at a point that never makes sense to me, and Paul could not let it go either when we were watching it, he punches the homeless guy in the nose and, like, bloodies the homeless guy's nose. And then Cody's hand is wrapped up super thick the entire rest of the movie. I have punched people in the face and have been fine. So he's a wuss. So, yeah, I guess he forgot. Alice runs to the second uninstallation station, What's Your Nation, and runs the program. And, Isaac, can you tell me what happens?
Is she supposed to be trying to hack it now?
Let me set the scene. So Cody is being stalked by the monster. Alice is at the second computer station. They set up two. It doesn't matter. And she's running the uninstallation program. So what happens now? What is the final conclusion point of this movie?
She fucks it up and gets Cody killed.
Okay, do you recall earlier in the movie when I was talking about the scenes with midgets and cocks?
No.
Okay. Do you remember in a throwaway line with the midgets and the cocks, Dan asked Cody how to get rid of spyware on his phone?
Yeah, you need the firmware.
In case you forgot, and I'm sure you didn't forget that very important scene, Cody's phone has special firmware on it. Firmware that just prevents the program from working.
Why?
That's the twist. Oh, I don't know. She says, Cody, the uninstallation is blocked. And he looks at his phone and says, oh my God, it's my firmware.
Why? ...
I don't know. He has firmware that blocks spyware. So the software can't uninstall the program on his hardware. Do you know what firmware is?
I wouldn't have guessed there was a difference between firmware and hardware.
I have no idea what firmware is. Yeah, I don't know. I had my Echo tell me what firmware was, and I retain none of it because it's long and complicated. The twist in this movie is categorized by the phrase, oh my God, it's my firmware. So yeah, Cody realizes he's going to die. In fact, the lights in the room he's in, which again, I let go because there was a lot to complain about, but I say again, is barely providing enough light for this fucking room. Go out, and of course it gets fucking brighter somehow. And behind Cody in the darkness appears Mr. Bedeviled, who is whistling the Chopin song from earlier. And we finally get to see Mr. Bedeviled in the light in all his glory. And we see what we can see on the poster and the thumbnail, which is big bugged out eyes on a tall man in a suit with a red bow tie with big claws. Mr. Bedeviled is a mix of Slender Man and Freddy Krueger in a suit. He acts like that. His rules work like that. His powers work like that. That is all he is. When we see him, first of all, it's ruined because the Netflix thumbnail is just his face, which they've basically tried to hide throughout the entire movie, just to show us in the end, like in all his glory when he's about to kill Cody.
Yeah.
The only thing that's spooky about him is that his eyes blink sideways.
Oh.
And that is,
cool.
It's not spooky.
Yeah.
That's it. And he kind of has like an exaggerated mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine Slender Man and Freddy Krueger fucked and the baby is Mr. Bedeviled. So anyway, Alice runs back to Cody to check on his firmware to see Mr. Bedeviled like leaving around the corner. Plotline alert! Alice is no longer cursed. She should be unable to see Mr. Bedeviled any longer because he no longer has any capability to affect her in the world because she doesn't have the firmware for the software on her hardware. So Cody's dead, and Alice cries. And by that, I mean she attempts to cry, but the actress couldn't be bothered to fake tears, so she just kind of vaguely sobs.
They couldn't even chop up some onions for her?
So in the final scene, we get a FaceTime call between Alice and her mom. Alice is in college, and the two chat briefly. They banter about nonsense, and Alice dreams of being a writer when Mom, who is doing the laundry, tells her phone to turn on the washing machine. Alice freaks out because Mom says she downloaded a new companion app, and Mom tells the phone to turn off the lights, and we fade to black. So, before we get to my final thoughts, I want to point out, as we saw, the twist of this movie was, oh my God, it's my firmware. In case you forgot, and again, of course I know you didn't forget, but Cody had a giant list of everyone who had the Mr. Bedeviled app. The world is fucked.
Right, yeah.
Tons of people have it. We never see what happens to them. So, yeah, Mr. Bedeviled is not really thwarted. He just doesn't get Alice. He's gonna get the rest of the world. So, yeah, that never comes up again either. But I didn't forget. I can never forget. This movie is just a massive pile of complete shit. The app really isn't explained and isn't believable. The monster isn't scary and it's just generic, it makes your worst fears real sort of thing. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Harry Potter did that and it's for kids. Yeah. The acting was horrendous. The characters were bland. There really wasn't even a plot. The scares are uninspired. All the talks of phone software, hardware, and firmware don't really make any sense and didn't matter until it suddenly did. And frankly, the idea of a monster that operates via the App Store just isn't scary to me. I don't know. There's so little to get behind that it just makes it utter shit. Cabin Fever, and take this with a fucking grain of salt. Cabin Fever was a much better movie than this, and I did not like Cabin Fever at all. I did say it was probably the best movie I've reviewed on here, but I didn't like it at all. This, I hate it. Now, this is definitely scarier, because it was full of loud musical crashes and some jump scares, but Cabin Fever at least had a plot, lame though it was. This was just shit piled on shit, piled on shit, piled on shit, and then it ended.
I feel like they really thought they were trying to be clever, too. And just make some kind of comment about, the addiction to cell phones and AI and just all this stuff.
This is like a movie plot that had a bunch of starts and never anything after that. It never moved on from that.
This is why there's things called writer's rooms, and they're important.
This movie gets a 1 out of 10.
Ooh, is that your lowest?
Well, the lowest since we started doing the 1 out of 10. I think Love, Wedding, Marriage gets a 0 out of 10. I think that's probably the lowest if we go back and score all the movies we did before the scoring system.
But yeah, this is down.
This is tied with Naked. This is tied with Naked. Like, I didn't get as mad as I got at some of the other ones, but it's just because, like, it's just, there's nothing to get mad at. It just sucks. But it sucks so hard and never stops sucking them. I hated it. It is easily the worst horror movie I've ever seen. Granted, that is a limited pool to draw from. My horror movie knowledge is incredibly limited. But it takes the cake. How could a movie like this be made in 2016 and still have all the flaws it does? It's astonishing. Like, it falls for every bad horror movie trope. It doesn't celebrate it. It tries to just be a horror movie. And it's not intentionally trying to be bad, but it is. And it makes so many failures and missteps. It's everything you could possibly do to make a horror movie suck. When the best part of your horror movie is reminding someone how much they love their Amazon Echo, you have failed, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
So you're not more afraid of the real world now?
No.
You haven't had any sleepless nights?
No. Walking the dog at night's a little scary, but that's because I'm a frightened child of everything.
All right, fair enough.
Rest in peace, children. Enjoy your award of being the worst actors and actresses on the bowels of Netflix. That's the Scary Beard Award. Mr.
Renee
Bedeviled.
Zellweger is riding high.
She's slipped to the number 2 hole. Mr. Bedeviled, feast on your souls in hell, where he reigns as certainly some kind of milkman or something. I don't need this shit. I'm out of here.
Oh, man. Well, that was a great choice. I'm glad that worked out as well as it did.
Yeah, that was really bad. I thought it was just going to be scary and I would hate it because of that, but no, it was just bad.
I'm glad it was horrible. I knew it wasn't going to be good, but I was hoping it'd be scarier than it was. Although I'm glad you felt a little uncomfortable.
I jumped a lot but I scare very easily and I hate horror movies.
Yeah, so that's our Halloween episode, the first. Next week will be Halloween Part 2, where I'll be covering a movie called Hungerford. Hungerford? Who knows how to pronounce it? It's
weird. You have to use the accent.
Weird Hungerford.
There you go.
It's a bloody weird movie, to be honest. Oh god, it's a challenge. You got to work through it. Yeah, so we'll be covering that next week as we lead up to the official Halloween date. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us on this spooky episode of The Bowels of Netflix. If you want to interact with us on social media, it's Facebook, Twitter, at Bowels of Netflix. If you want to send us an email, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. If you've seen this movie or any of our other movies we've covered, we'd love to hear your thoughts or impressions. And if you have any suggestions about other movies we could watch or just the show in general, we'd love to hear that too. So please send your emails in. And quick shout out to Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com, where we get all our awesome music from. You're probably hearing some of it right now in the bed under this. And make sure to rate and subscribe. If you dig this podcast, then yeah, definitely do those things and pass us along to a friend who might be interested in this kind of weird chucking and jiving that we white folk do.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that's definitely racist.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. No, I got curious in my lunch break the other day, and I'm like, I should check. Yep, nope, yep. We gotta
Does
stop.
it stand for anything in particular, or is it just...
No, it's just to describe black people.
God damn it.
So, yeah, apologies for that, by the way. That's,
Life has a learning curve.
It does. I legitimately didn't know. I do now.
Join us next week, recommend us to a friend of yours if you like the way we white it up.
Join us next week where we'll find new ways to offend you.
If you like extra sharp cheddar cheese and Triscuit crackers, come back.
Is that like... That's gonna be... If white people ever make a flag, that's gonna be on it, isn't it?
Pretty much.
That and old dad hats and shorts.
When I was young, I hated Triscuit crackers. It was like the biggest load of shit in the world. Now I like them.
I love chicken and a biscuit, even though I'm pretty sure every single one of them slowly kills me.
Chicken and a biscuit's got a good ring to it.
It does. It's so good.
Chicken
Especially
and a biscuit.
I think they take like the bouillon cubes for chicken soup and just sprinkle that onto crackers. It tastes really good.
If we ever become a hip-hop duo, it's got to be chicken and a biscuit.
I still think it's unfortunate we can't use it because of the very obvious word in the middle of it that we got. Our duo's musical act was from a Biggie Smalls song. Chubby something's on the scene. If you recall. Oh, the days of our youth and we didn't know what we were doing.
It was nice to be naive, and we're probably still just as naive, to be honest. We just aren't aware of it yet. Give us another decade, we'll come around.
We try harder this time.
Yeah. Life has a learning curve. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We will definitely see you next week. It's going to be a spooky show, too.
Oh, yeah, and shout out to the awesome Halloween opening that I listened to 6 times.
Yes, I channeled the ghost of... who's a dead person who's
Vincent
been an actor
Price.
on the show? Yes, he hasn't been an actor on the show, but... Yeah, I contacted him via the spirit world. I had to go through Michael Jackson first, was publicist, and then him. He and Bubbles were hanging out. It was pretty cool. But
is his publicist dead, or did you just actually talk to him on like?
Well, I had to kill his publicist so they could access Michael Jackson Ghost. It was a whole thing. But anyway, it worked out well.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.
Smell you later on the Spooky App Store.